Hello and welcome to Kerbal Explosive Kolonisation. For anybody that's seen this recently, or sort of recently, I have a bit of an apology. There's a lot of stuff going on at home at the moment, so the videos are out at a slower pace than I normally like to get them out. I'm in the midst of getting married, essentially. Let's say essentially. I'm in the midst of getting married, and yeah, it's all fun and games and people losing eyes. But yeah, so I haven't been putting the stuff out quite as regularly, and that'll probably go on for a little while. And at the same time, for the past week, I've also had a 3D printer which I've been trying to set up. So, my apologies, but on with the show. Now, one of the other things that I've been actually doing in Kerbal, is there is a beautiful mod by the name of Tundra Exploration. It is a fantastic mod. It is essentially all your SpaceX vehicles looked together. Now, if anybody's watched most of these videos, a while back there was one particular craft that I had that was the same mod, and I took it out because I was having a bit of problems with it. It wasn't up to my expectations. However, I believe shortly after I took it out, it got the little issue that I had with it, which was it wasn't breaking in the atmosphere, was fixed. And since then they've been putting in all sorts of other things, and they've just put in the BFR that has been theorised by SpaceX. Now, I like the idea of this. I don't think it will work in reality, but I think it's a genius concept at least. And I was actually looking for a way to try and make this work alongside the system from Angel 125, the Wild Blue system that Pathfinder installs, having different storage containers and things. So I was messing about with this for a while on the forums and managed to come up with a system to put some KISS storage into this actual module that you can see, which gives me another vessel for looping things up to orbit, at least a Kerbal. Maybe some long range, but we'll see what happens with that. But for the moment, I'm just launching some crew out to the ISS that is around about the moon these days. And at the same time, I'm also launching a surface mission. And they're almost identical. This is another version of the pod, which is cargo version, big doors on the front of it. So I thought I'd launch them in rapid succession and punt them out to the moon. And that's exactly what the plan was. Now, the booster stages can land on their own, and because I have Kerbal recovery systems, I believe it is, installed, I don't even have to bother with it. Although you can land them, and I did do one successful landing, I just let it land on its own, so it basically deorbits on its own, and the mod works out how much is recovered, and I get a percentage of it back, which is always good to work with. So after pushing out into orbit with this, we push it out towards the moon. And I thought I'd keep this all in because a lot of people don't quite show multiple launches at the same time. So I'm just setting my waypoints, and the way that I get this to work is using Kerbal alarm clock. You can see it there in front of the mech window. So you set your alarm, you warp when you get the alarm for the other ship, jump across, and there we go, we're approaching. And there's only a short amount of time between these, so you have to get one into orbit, then jump back to the other one, keeping an eye on any alarms that pop up here and there. And there we go. We have one in orbit. We need to set some correction burns. I'm just doing it through MechJib because it's easy. I love MechJib. I love people that say that it's not realistic when in actual fact, I think there's only ever been one space flight where someone was in control of the spacecraft. Every other I think that was a shuttle mission when they were trying to land it to see if it was possible. But with the exception of that, everything has run on autopilot. All of the big astronaut things run on the equivalent of MechJib. You plug it in and let the computer fly it. But we jump back to our cargo ship, and I'm trying to get it on the ground, and I realise that two things have gone horribly wrong. I am in the wrong place for where I wanted to land. I wanted to land by the archway, which I discovered a few episodes ago. And at the same time, I'm also a lot lighter on the fuel than I expected to be by this stage. So I try and land it softly, but we're on a bit of a slope, because this isn't where I expected. So I try and punt it to move it. It's a bit of a bounce and run out of fuel, so I decide to just land it flat and slide along the dirt. Keeping the solar panels out, there you can see what's in the cargo pod. But I figured I'd leave that there. So we're back up into the orbit of the moon, and we are getting our little Kerbals in line with the station. So after a few transfers, or after an alignment and then a home and transfer and interception and all that jazz, we get up docking, but we have to do a bit of rearranging. And as people have seen by now, I like doing things, multiple things at one time, and MechJeb allows you to do that very easily. So we get docked there, lovely, beautifully, and we have a big cargo ship. A whole load of cargo. I can't actually remember what's on it, I can't see it in the rendering screen. Life support. So we top up from here, and after a little while we do some moving about of things, and I decide to get rid of this booster at last. I can't reconfigure the storage on it, it's just fuel storage, and it's unbalanced, I can't really use it for anything. So I take out everything I can and recycle it, because I have a high capacity engineer here, high star engineer. So I can recycle the entire thing in one point. So with that done, doing a little bit of exploration on Kerbal. So you will have seen this on Lathe, and it actually flies even better on Kerbal than it does on Lathe. If somebody's trying to recreate this, because I know somebody was, the reason it works, it flies so well, is because there is actually hidden propellers inside it, but it looks pretty like this, so I don't care about cheating. Not in this way anyways. So with some looping about, we're out at Baikonur. I don't know how you say it. We're out at the other KSC. And I sent the little craft first because I needed a point to lock onto to launch this big beast. So this is also something that I use, at least a launcher is something that I used on Lathe, but with a new base attached. And because I'm flying heavier load, I'm actually using more electricity, so I have to rejigger my efforts, make sure all my reactors are turned on, and then keep the throttle back so I can only fly at the very lowest. And to get away with this, as you can see there, I turn on the reactor that's on the main base, but I keep it at minimum power, just to try and get a bit more EC in. And we do eventually land nearly charged up, but not quite. So we get over the base, and instead of trying to land a big behemoth like this, I decide to just drop it on parachutes. Nice and simple. And then something goes horribly wrong here. I can't actually recover the plane. I don't know why. So it has to die, which is very annoying because I lost a lot of money there. There's quite a few nuclear generators on this, the safer ones that come with the White Blue Industries, and yeah, that was a problem. As was losing that landing leg, but we have to have an explosion somewhere. So we put out the radiators, leave that be, and then take a little marker all the way back to the base. This is actually really fun to fly. So I go looping out. Now this thing again is, it runs on AC, and the main body of it just has 4 safer nuclear reactors just sort of slotted into it. So I decide to actually land it back at the KSC and leave it there, because it means that I can quite easily and quite quickly launch a vehicle that doesn't cost me much. So just a little car or something like that. and use that to get this if I need to fly back. And that was the plan behind this, also because I wanted to land on a building. And this you have to get out, and you shouldn't recover a Kerbal up in the air. So we do a bit of a jump and a parachute, and another jump and a parachute, and then we recover them, because why not? So back up at the moon, we have finished building our little drone, and I'm basically blaming this on everything that's going on. I am not paying enough attention to the game at the moment. But what's going on here is I have created a little drone ship for tugging things about, and realised that I haven't put forward thrusters on the side with the large docking port. So with a little bit of manoeuvring I managed to get it in place, set up my next build, and jump back down to Kerbal. This is where we actually launch another vehicle going out to my new Cosmodrome base. Now the point of this is to have a second landing area, but also there should be the ability here, from what I've detected, to mine exotic materials. So this actually serves two purposes. First off, I've got a place where I can mine exotic materials, and secondly, it gives me another place to land spacecraft. And the reason this is so useful is because you get 100% if you land on the H, and this you get almost all of your money back from what you land, obviously minus fuel and stuff like that you've expended. But this has the same money back as you would get from landing at the KSC, so that's why I'm setting up a second base here. If anybody else knows of another place that this can happen, please put it in the comments, but I don't know that much about the lore, and I don't quite want to look it up. I feel if somebody helps me that's a little bit less cheaty. But I try and repair the leg, and yeah, it all goes sideways. But at least we've still got our base here. So for the moment we get in, and all I'm doing is just mining some supplies, and I'm mining exotic materials at the moment, and then all I'm going to do is just ship them back, just have one little plain ferry that can come out, pick them up, take them back, get some cash for it. And I feel like that's a less cheaty way of doing it. And we try and set up a little bit more, but obviously for these systems I need concrete and something else, I'm not quite sure. So I need to sort out the mining for that later. But as you'll see, this becomes a little bit null and void in a second. So after all that's done, we take our planes back to the KSC after some strange manoeuvring. For some weird reason this plane won't take off normally, so I punt it on an upward ramp and go for it. And voila! I actually really like this one. I don't know why, just the design of it really appeals to me. Well, that was a fairly abrupt change, but there we go. So that's us back down at Kerbal, at the KSC at least. Being on Kerbal the whole time. And we land and recover, and it's all nice and smooth. And then I'm out of the base and I'm having a look at a problem. Now I time warped ahead and I got negative electricity and tack, and I couldn't recover it. I even tried opening HyperEdit, which actually wasn't installed. I had to reinstall it and take it back out, and there was a bit of a problem with that. But I was trying to fix this, so I decided to EVA somebody, and in slow motion this happened. And yeah, so there is more than a little problem with this base that I need to fix. So I decide to recover the entire thing and just leave it. The reason that I decided this is basically because there was nothing I could do with it. It saved right after that Kerbal died, so these things happen. Kerbals die in a lot of my videos. But we're back up at the ISS, and as you can see here, we've got another little storage module. I've made a couple of little standard ones in the designer, so This is my first tiny expansion for this. Now this is also going to be for harvesting things from the moon. I'm going to do a little bit of exotic materials, but I'm kind of limiting myself to one plane every 10 or so days. However, I don't mind grabbing as much as possible from the moon. So that's what I'm doing. I'm setting up for making small craft here that I can send down as exotic miners, and rearranging this as a little build assembly that can reload basically fuel tanks. And my plan being is I'm going to use the BFR rockets to bring out supplies for building the new modules, and then take away the new the mined ore. So that's my idea, at least. That's what's stuck in my head at the moment and what I'm going for. But as I said, I've been here, there and everywhere. But I'm just going through all the supplies here, getting everything moved across, transferring things in and out. And then we go on to a bit of manoeuvring, because this base at the moment I cannot actually build because of where that module is, and I have a problem with RCS on that module, so I decide to reshape my entire base. I thought this was a fairly elegant solution. So we tip one section down, there we go, nice and easy, all manual, which is unusual for me these days. And then I bring this a little bit closer. Because of the length of it, I think it's okay to actually stick here. Now that I'm looking at it, I might move something else, but we'll see. So there we go, we have a little bit of docking space. And we decouple after swapping over our crews. So we've got the bare minimum on the ISS at the moment. We have one engineer, two scientists and a pilot, and that's it. Because I'm trying to get everybody else back down to Kerbal. Even from Lathe and things like that, I want to recover as many people as possible, as many Kerbals, get them back, and then step on to my next step of exploration, which I'm not going to mention just yet. But it won't be for another 2 videos. So doing the cheating way of doing it, return from a moon, which never lines up correctly, so I always have to go into RCS and do a little bit of tweaking. But we head all the way back, and this, I do this every time. I always set up a burn node and use MechJeb specifically for this, because even when you hit warp 2, half the time when I hit warp to the periaps, it always jumps me past, which is a major pain. But I use MechJeb to follow the waypoint, the manoeuvre node, slow down, have a quick search of the map, realise exactly where I am, and set another manoeuvre node for deceleration into the atmosphere. And this I'm particularly proud of. This is why I really like this ship, because the entire premise of it, one of the things that Elon Musk suggested was rocket travel, as in rocket ports. Now, it's just not feasible, but I do like the idea of it, even though it's never going to happen. It can't possibly happen because of the fuel requirements and danger of landing rockets. If something goes wrong, then you basically nuke a small area. However, I love the idea, and in the computer game it worked quite well. Now, this flies superbly. However, it's been updated, and it's supposed to fly even better since it's been updated. So I need to have a look at that and install the mod. I'm a little bit behind in keeping my mods up to date, but the way that I do it is, now this is slightly wrong because I've hit a little bit short here, but the way that I do it is I drop into the atmosphere using the aero braking to also glide along, and then once I get close to the landing area, I use the RCS. I'm doing it a bit early here and I shouldn't be, but I use the RCS to actually pitch it all the way back so that it's vertical and then land on the rockets. Now, if you'll see, I'm dropping the brake on and off because my brakes are linked to deploying the rear fins. That was odd. But yeah, my brakes are linked to deploying the rear fins, so I use that for a little bit of momentum, a little bit of pitch up, and also steering. Now, there's no yaw control on this whatsoever, but it does seem to keep quite naturally stable. As you can see there, I'm falling a little bit short, so I turn on the engine because I do want to get over the KSE for maximum recovery amount. And this is all at correct speed. This hasn't been sped up at all, which I know is unusual for me, but I was really proud of this. I've done quite well landing these. So we glide in, obviously time warping here and there, and then the RCS on and pitch back. So the fins are deployed, pitching back with the RCS, trying to bring it up vertically. Now, there's no stability enhancements or throttle controlled avionics. This is all by the hand. It's all perfect. So pitch back using your RCS to keep you stable. Obviously there's RCS in the nose cone and in the rear. To be honest, you don't need it in the rear, you just need it in the nose cone. And then engine on, gear down. Bring up your engine to decelerate, but don't let yourself slow down too much. You don't really want to drop below 10 meters per second until you land, because that makes it slightly unstable. So you want a good descent rate. So bring it up slightly, and then just before we land, I throttle it and cut it. So it goes to full burning off in a second. And that's all done by hand on the keyboard. And we are down! So, again, a strange and unusual video, but thanks for watching. Please comment. It's always nice to see, and I shall see you next time.